Yeah, a lot of that stuff is, yeah, that was back when you could just be a jerk and nobody thought it was a big deal. You can't do that anymore.
Right. Yeah. And then we just had regular jerks, not even like, it didn't have to be racist, but, and
no, just jerks.
Right. And then there was the whole, let's see, what was it? Oh, CJ in one episode, she was like lip syncing to this rapper, and like her whole staff is dancing, like including black staffers whose names you don't ever know. And I'm just like, do you remember that? I was like,
and that was inclusive because they had black staffers. They were like, oh, look at that. There's black people in the background.
I was like, what is going on? It didn't strike me as weird then, so I guess we have progressed, All right, we're coming on air, so I'll see you in a few.
Okay.
Building a better Bay Area for a safe and secure future. This is ABC7 News.
Hi, I'm Kristen Z. Welcome to our daily program called Getting Answers. We're asking experts your question every day at 3 to get answers for you in real time. So today we have a very special guest, Kamau Bell. He needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. See how I'm just getting funny by osmosis here, Kamau? No, not really. That didn't get enough. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that courtesy laugh. He's born in Palo Alto, Oakland resident now, social activist, comedian, author, and host of the Emmy Award-winning United Shades of America on CNN. Kamau, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. I'm happy to be the Kelly to your Regis.
Really? I thought you were the Regis and I was the Kelly.
No, it's your show.
Oh, really?
You've had this show. Yeah, I'm the Kelly.
That
One day,
is
and then
true.
when you move on, then it'll be Kelly. And yeah,
you're a lovely Kelly.
Yes, we have a lot in common.
We really do. I'm surprised I didn't scare you away after the first time about 2 months ago, but I'm so happy you're back. Okay, so you said we could talk about anything, right?
I think so. We'll see what happens.
Oh, okay, so we will. The latest headlines, we'll tackle that in the next half hour. Politics, education, policing, racism, allyship, mixed race kids, and it's all going to be really funny because it's you.
Well, I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
I will think it's funny. I can't promise what the viewer thinks.
Okay. All right, we're going to give it a shot. So, Kamau, you are such a trusted voice and perspective. That part was written by my producer, just so you know, the only part of the script written by my producer. But I do think that's true. We're huge fans. Let's start with the hottest question in the presidential race right now. So Joe Biden, the presumed Democratic nominee, is expected to name his running mate anytime now in the next few days. So do you agree with those who say Biden must pick a black woman?
Yes, I do. I think that he would be, I think by not picking a black woman, it would be more than who he's picking. It'd be more about who he's not picking. I think that the base of the Democratic Party, which is generally black people, we're one of the strong bases of the Democratic Party. Doesn't mean we agree with everything the Democratic Party does, but we are the base of the Democratic Party, has made it very clear that we want a black woman to be picked. Now, he's allowed to pick whoever he wants, but then he has to deal with the consequences of not picking a black woman. And I don't know that he's interested in those consequences with everything else that's going on. And also, very recently, Uncle Joe has made some weird racial things that if he had a black woman next to him, she might go like this and be like, hey, Joe, don't say that.
Yeah, and I want to get to some of those comments in just a little bit, but I do want to know who's your pick. I mean, we do have several black women who are on the short list, right? Kamala Harris from Oakland, of course, but we also have Val Deming, Susan Rice, we have Keisha Lance Bottoms, and who am I forgetting here? Stacey Abrams, of course, also on that list. And, but there are also non-black candidates who are still on that list. Elizabeth Warren, Tammy Duckworth, veteran, also formidable, and she's half Thai. I'm just wondering, who would you pick?
I mean, they all have their strengths. I think the important thing the reason why I like Stacey Abrams is because she's from the South. And I think that, I think one thing with a VP candidate, you want them to bring something that you don't have. So she's a black woman and she's from the South, which means she can speak to Southerners of all races in a way that Joe Biden may not be able to. I know he connects with black people from South Carolina, but I think that Stacey Abrams being a black woman from the South adds something very significant to the ticket. And she's also Stacey Abrams. But I'm not anti any of those people. So I just want to be clear.
Gotcha. And I want to apologize for forgetting Karen Bass earlier when I listed a whole bunch of people. And she did have a lower profile, and that is part of the conversation. But, you know, quietly, a lot of people also support her as well. So, okay, I want to switch to Kanye.
And let's be clear. Hold on. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Nobody thought Obama was going to pick Joe Biden. That was like, I know it seems like it's a million years ago, but I don't remember Joe Biden being on the top of anybody's list. That pick came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, that in that same sense, that like a lot of times, remember when Dick Cheney picked himself? He was head of the committee to pick George W. Bush's vice president. He was like, I think I found the right guy.
Oh, that's right. I put you in charge, Dick, and who'd you come up with? Oh, right.
It's staring me right in the mirror.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I want to talk about Kanye because he's still in the mix. In fact, he says in a new, I know, I'm going to give you a moment.
Okay.
Take as much time as you want.
Let's do it.
Okay. So he says in a new interview with Forbes that he is trying to play spoiler for Biden, and there's reporting that several Republican governors are trying to help him get on the ballot in their states. What do you think is the Kanye effect? I mean, can he really steal away black votes?
I think all Kanye can do is be a distraction. I don't really believe that anybody's going to get him on, that he's missed a couple deadlines. I don't think the work is going to be done to get him on the ballot. I think it just becomes a distraction and a talking point, and that's all they need him to do. It does make sense that some Republicans would be trying to push him in that direction. I mean, he was very recently, you know, it wasn't that long ago he was wearing the MAGA hat. The thing about Kanye that I think is awkward is just there's a bigger discussion about how we talk about mental health publicly, because I understand why we don't talk about people's mental health if we're not their doctors. I understand that. But Kanye has been very open about his mental health struggles. His wife has been open about his mental health struggles. Mm-hmm. So there seems to me there has to be a way we can talk about someone who is clearly having mental health issues publicly and why it's probably not the best idea for that person to run for president.
All right. And of course, Kanye brings
I'm walking a very fine line there. But I just think that we have to have a better way to talk about mental health.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think everybody agrees with that. And when you mention Kanye, I think that is full proof that the black vote is not monolithic, or the African-American community is not monolithic. And
the only people who think the black vote is monolithic are white people. Every black person is related to a MAGA supporter. Every black person has a conservative uncle. Every black person knows Republicans in their family. It is only outside of the community that people think the black vote is monolithic.
All right. Well, you know, that's been in the news because this week, as you know, you referred to a Joe Biden comment. In fact, I'm just going to play it for you first, and then we'll talk about it.
What you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
Okay, so, you know, Biden said that in front of a group of Hispanic and black journalists. What do you make of it? I mean, what do you think he really meant? You getting whiplash there? Your head shaking?
Yeah, just like
why?
I think it's about how he's defining diversity, and I think what he was probably meaning to say is that Latino people come from all different countries and also can be all different shades. So I think he probably meant country of origin is a more diversity than black folks in the country. But either way, that's not how you say it. That's not how diversity is defined. And again, as I've said before to other people, the thing with Joe Biden right now is that a little bit of Joe Biden goes a long way. And I understand why they're being careful with his public appearances, because if he just starts riffing, things like that fall out. Like he said to the black reporter, are you a junkie? Like, it was just like, no, Joe. He said to Charlemagne, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Joe Biden is like ointment. You don't want to put too much ointment on it, because it gets over everything.
Yeah, okay, not everyone can riff. Okay, you can riff. That's what you do. But let's just make that clear. You've done shows titled How Do You Know It's Racism? Okay, so I want to ask you if you think it was racist when the Oakland A's bench coach Ryan Christensen yesterday made that gesture that looked like a Nazi salute when players were coming back to the dugout.
We're all being watched, and especially if you're in a position of privilege, then you're being watched 10 times as much. And especially right now with sports, that's one of the only things that is on TV that people are excited about other than the news. So you have to be aware of what you're doing at all times. I've certainly been in situations where it's like suddenly whatever's in your head, you have to be aware of how it's perceived. And so we're in the 21st century. So especially if you're going to put your hands up in the air, just be aware of how you're doing it. And you may not have meant to do it, but that does not mean that people don't have the ability to be offended by it. And you should be able to apologize and explain when people perceive you as messing up. I think that's the bigger thing. People would get away with so much if they just said oops, if they just quickly said oops. But we're afraid of oops. We always want to dig in.
Oh, not you. But that's another story altogether. We know that, you and me. But we're going to take a short break on the air. When we come back, we'll talk about a lot of things: education, defunding police, and over on our live streams, Kamau, I want you to help me figure out if a recent encounter of mine was racist. So join us on live streams. All right, we are in break, so not on TV, but we're on Facebook. So, hey, Facebook people, you should feel really, really important because you're getting a little something extra here. But yeah, so I had an incident, right? Like, was this racist? And it was going through my mind, so help me figure it out. So
I'm gonna say probably, even though I haven't heard the story.
It's like if it's wondering in your mind, if you're kicking it around, experience tells you, yeah.
If you've thought about it more than twice, it's probably racist.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I was walking my neighborhood, right? Power walking, getting my heart rate up, and I have my mask, like down around my neck. So the point is, I try to stay away from people. You know how they say, public health officers say, if you can stay a safe distance away when you're exercising hard, it's okay. But I have it ready to put on, right? But so this woman yells at me. I was about 20 feet from her. Put on your mask, put on your mask, put on your mask. Now, I'm thinking, okay, I don't know if this was racist or not, but I was speaking in Chinese at the time because my mom just called me. So I was like quickly talking to my mom in Chinese. And then there were like two other people on the other side of the street. Also, we're all very far apart from each other. And they happen to be white and they didn't have their masks on because that 99% of the people in our neighborhood don't put their masks on when they're running. But we all know to run on the other side of each other. So was that racist? I was thinking, is that racist? I really...
You don't need me to answer this question.
I mean, was it just a coincidence
on the
that I was speaking Chinese?
I was just on the fence about it until you said there were other people across the street who also didn't have their masks on who were white people. That is certified racist.
Well, I was like, maybe she didn't see them. You know how you start making excuses? Like, maybe she didn't see them.
This is the problem. People of color, we have to do too much work to make things not racist. Meanwhile, that person was just racist and going on about their business. This is called the Elmwood Cafe effect. So you have to I mean, the thing to do is to make sure to interrupt that racism.
Yeah, okay. You had a pizza example about that. That was really funny. What was that?
Yes. I was like, how do you know it was pizza? When people ask me, how do you know it was racism? How do you know it's pizza? Because I'm an expert in pizza and racism.
Yeah, because I've eaten pizza all my life, right? Okay.
Yes.
All right, coming back on air. All right, we are back with W. Kamau Bell, host of United Shades of America on CNN, comedian, Oakland resident, and father of 3 kids. Now, the father of 3 kids part is important because, Kamau, I want to talk about education, okay? This week on ABC7 News, we've really focused on back to school with distance learning in the Bay Area. So you and I are almost like simpatico. This is like freaky. It's like we're Obama and Biden to each other in that way because your most recent United Shades episode was all about social inequity in education. And I want to ask you, do you think COVID worsened the inequity that you already saw and showed us in such, depths?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this is, again, the things that can be 2 things at once. I understand how parents who have privilege and resources would go, I'm going to set up the perfect learning environment for my kid in my house. I'm going to order desks. I'm going to strengthen my Wi-Fi. I'm going to find other kids that we can team up with who are also families who I trust, who can also be a part of my kids' learning pod. I get where that comes from. But what it inevitably does is kids who go to schools that don't have extra resources, don't have parents with extra resources, are now stuck at home, and a lot of them with no way to keep up with their education through this distance learning thing that is happening around the country. So, yeah, the inequities that exist across American society are being deepened right now. And so I think some COVID pods, learning pods, are actually sort of going, wait, we need to make sure we invite kids into this who don't have the ability to do this so we can actually take care of our community while we take care of ourselves.
Yeah, which a Bay Area venture capitalist, angel investor did say, he was on our show yesterday and said he was going to do just that. He got a lot of flack on social media when he put out a call for teachers saying, we'll match whatever salary offer you get, but we're also going to offer a few spots, scholarship spots, kids can join, and, if they can't afford it, that's totally fine. But you're right, we have to make sure that we don't widen the gap. And you've experienced it all, right, the gap, because you've been to public school, private school, predominantly black schools, predominantly white schools. What truths were evident to you that were universal after going through all those, experiences?
My experience, the difference between public school, and when I was in public schools, I would sometimes be in the smarter classes. And all that was is because I've been to enough private schools that I knew how to take standardized tests. I'm not saying I was smart. I'm smart enough, but standardized tests didn't freak me out. A lot of those things are culturally biased in such a way that they freak kids out. Mm-hmm. So what I found was that in private schools, there was an expectation of success that is not always in public schools. I'm not saying teachers don't expect their kids to succeed, but sometimes the resources are stretched so thin that you can't keep every kid on track. Whereas in private schools, there's an expectation that every kid here stays on track. So I think it's all, and it's a lot of it because they don't make as much as the public school teachers, but generally they have more resources. So I think that the thing that I've learned is that you want that same expectation of success throughout schools, but therefore you need to give every school the same level of resources so they can educate their kids and make sure the teachers have enough support.
And I want to say, you've used your platform to try to even the playing field. I see you tweeting about teachers' projects and things people can do and donate to support kids who need them, schools who need them, to make sure that as we start with distance learning, that we don't widen the gap. So that's really cool. Okay, I want to move to ethnic studies because California is moving to require that in college and high school. So next week, Governor Newsom should sign a bill deciding what form that requirement would take. Do you think that's a huge positive step?
I mean, it's all about who's teaching the class. I think that's really what it comes down to.
You want to volunteer?
I mean, I'm a little bit busy, but I think a lot of that stuff is like, it sounds good in theory, but who's teaching the class?
Yeah.
Are you giving that to a math teacher? You know what I mean? Who's already stretched thin? Or are you hiring staff who are studied and degreed in these subjects and going to do it in a way that isn't about both sides of an issue? Some people thought slavery was bad. Some people thought slavery was good. Who knows? Let's debate. Whereas,
there are good people on both sides. There are good people
on both sides. So, I mean, to me, it's like, are you going to let somebody? Is it going to be sort of an approach that actually makes way for new history and new stories that really shows America for what it is, which is a very flawed country from its very beginning.
I gotcha. It's in the execution to you, right? Okay. Hey, we've talked about allyship a lot in the news. What's your idea of allyship?
I mean, at this point, allies, my friend Alicia Garza, one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, who's also lives here in the Bay, talked about we're past allies. It's time for co-conspirators. Allies stand on the sidelines like this. Co-conspirators get arrested with you. So it doesn't mean you literally have to be arrested with you, but you have to be willing to get, what I would say is get some dirt on you. It can't just be, I changed my avatar to Black Lives Matter. It has to be, I donated to Black Lives Matter. I've marched with Black Lives Matter. I've actually called my neighbors out who are against Black Lives Matter. I've engaged in conversations. I've actually done, you have to do the work. I think that's the thing that is for example, a lot of sports leagues and a lot of businesses are getting credit for writing Black Lives Matter in their windows that would have been a revolutionary act when Trayvon Martin was killed by George Zimmerman years ago. Mm-hmm. If immediately the NBA and the NFL started writing Black Lives Matter in the court, you'd be like, what? It would have felt like a bigger deal.
Right.
It's great now, but also what else are you doing is the thing. And a lot of the leagues are doing other things, but it has to be a continuing conversation.
I hear you. All right. Hey, I'm pretty sure you've done comedy shows on this topic too, but what are things people should not say to their Black colleagues, friends, or strangers? You got a minute. Give me all that you got. Everything you've heard.
You're Black, but you're not black. You're not like the others. Articulate. Never use the word articulate around a Black person. Absolutely, it's just become too loaded. I'd kind of rather you drop the N-word. articulate.
Wait, so is the implication that the norm should be not articulate? Is that what that means? Okay.
Yeah, and it's been used for years as a way to say you're exceptional because you can speak in clear sentences, which I'm not doing right now. And I think it's that you're somehow different. Like the expectation is that you wouldn't be articulate. And so that's the problem with that. So I think those are things that, my favorite is a friend of mine, I haven't seen him in years. You're black, but you're not black, which is
okay. Not that I'm thinking you're being inarticulate right now, but if you were, I blame it on too much sugar-free Red Bull, which you have in front of you. Take another sip as we take a short break on air, but our conversation with Kamau Bell continues on our live streams right now.
Thank you.
All right, Facebook friends, thanks for joining me for this conversation. So fun hanging out with Kamau. I want you to kind of share your analogy. I saw the first episode of United Shades ever, and that was when you hung out with the KKK, right? By the way, are you still friends? I mean, do you keep in touch with those people?
No, I don't keep in touch with any of them. I keep in touch with very few people in the history of the show, but certainly not the KKK.
Gotcha. Okay. But you made this analogy about the iceberg, and I thought that was, wow, such an easy way even for kids to understand that. Can you kind of explain that to us real quickly?
It's the idea that we think of white supremacy generally as being what I would say are white supremacists, like neo-Nazis and the KKK and the alt-right. We think of those being as white supremacy, but that's actually white supremacists. And really, there's levels of white supremacy, and the way to think about it is like an iceberg. Like above the water is the stuff that's easy to see. Neo-Nazis, KKK members, hate crimes, genocide of Native Americans. That stuff's easy to point out. We all generally agree that that stuff is bad. Okay. But then beneath the water is all the stuff that is like, that there's more debate about, but is still a part of a system of white supremacy, which is, for example, that woman yelling at you on the street with your not having your mask on, even though there's white people there without their masks on. That's a part of white supremacy. It's just, that's you, even you were like, is that racist? And I'm like, yes, it's 100% racist. Or like, you know, any number, like up until recently, the Washington football team being named after a slur. That's white supremacy.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite name for the Washington, no longer the Redskins, new name? What do you think it should be?
So somebody was like, what is the Go-Go's after the music, the Washington Go-Go's? I thought that would be because the Go-Go music in D.C. is very known and popular, and they invented it there. I like the Washington Go-Go's, but it's not up to me.
All right. And with that, we'll come back on air. You're on record saying that.
All right.
And we're back with W. Kamau Bell, host of United Shades of America on CNN, creator of lots of comedy specials, social activist, and provocateur. I just threw that word in because I really like it.
I like that one. I like that one.
You got to provoke now. Okay. We're getting some questions from viewers, from Denise on Facebook here. Do you think Black Lives Matter is making a difference, or is it actually bringing out more of the closet racists?
No, Trump brought out the closet racists. I think that we can firmly say that's who's bringing out the closet racists. Trump and all of his, and you know, even still referring to coronavirus by a racist term. So I think Black Lives Matter is making some people uncomfortable. It is uniting some people and making some people uncomfortable who should be uncomfortable with the idea, because why are you uncomfortable with it? So I think Black Lives Matter on the whole is absolutely a good thing. And it's the first time we've been able to get America really focused on the small parts of white supremacy and not just somebody was killed.
All right. Don is kind of turning my question around. He wants to know, what should blacks not say to whites? Have you ever given that any thought?
You're fired, because they tend to go postal. What should blacks not say to whites? I think all this stuff is about respect. I think the reason we get it caught up in what should white people not say to black people is because there's a history of in this country of a caste system where black people are below white people, and a history of white people who don't mean any harm doing things that are harming people, in addition to the stuff we talked about, the harm. So I think that, like, ultimately this is all about respect. It's just usually black people are not in powerful enough positions as a group where their lack of respect can actually lead to other harms to you, like institutional and structural harms.
All right. Hey, in your city, in Oakland, they recently voted to, at this point, not defund the police. But in San Francisco, across the bay, they are taking away some funding from police. You know, where do you stand on this issue?
I mean, I definitely believe in defund the police, because I think that as many studies have shown that, like, we spend too many resources on police, and those resources should be put in other areas. Like we just talked about mental health. I think, there's any number of times where somebody calls the cops because somebody's having a mental health issue, and the cops come with guns and that person ends up dead. Or because they believe someone's having a mental health issue, like Elijah McClain in Aurora, Colorado, was dancing down the street with a ski mask on, and the cops came and shot him instead of going like, "Hey man, are you okay?" So I think and he would have said, "Yeah, I'm fine." So I think there's any number of times that we are using the police, the wrong tool for the wrong job. So I think that absolutely defunding the police means taking their money away from militarization and actually putting their bodies in the streets and putting it in other areas, and other social services and education. That's one way we can make the school better, is by taking money from the police and putting it into the schools.
All right. Also sticking close to home, Alameda County giving stipends for coronavirus folks to stay at home and self-isolate. And you tweeted your thoughts on this yesterday. What was that you said? It was like, your kid is excited. What is this?
It's like your kid is excited that they just solved a math problem, but they got the wrong answer.
Yeah. What does that mean?
So it felt to me like the idea of like, we figured out the coronavirus. We're going to pay people with the virus to stay home. And it's like, no, you pay everybody to stay home. That's how you deal with the coronavirus. You give everybody money, everybody money to stay home. Because it doesn't work if you just give the people who've admitted to be sick to stay home, because they've already been out in the world with the coronavirus. So if you pay everybody to stay home, the virus dies. I'm not trying to be the new Dr. Fauci, but that's how it works.
No, I get it. And in fact, what you just addressed is really relevant to the army of gig workers that we've become so reliant on, especially here in the Bay Area. And I know that's actually the focus of this Sunday's episode of United Shades, right? What did you discover about the gig economy?
Well, that a lot of people, we think of it as being something that people do for extra money, but a lot of people use it either as a full-time job in and of itself, or, as we learned, as a second full-time job. So they work their full-time job that doesn't pay them enough money, and they go home and get in their car, and then they do their second full-time job. I talked to a guy who claims he sleeps 2 hours a night because he has two full-time jobs. And one of his main job is not a bad job. It's just we don't pay. There's people who work for like major tech companies, but because they're independent contractors, they don't get the benefits of these multi-billion-dollar tech companies. And then they also drive for a rideshare service after work. It doesn't make any sense that we would allow it to happen.
Okay. All right. Can't wait to watch that episode this Sunday. Okay, right now, before we let you go, we got to play a quick game, okay? All right, because I posted on Twitter, it's Kamau versus Kristen, so there's got to be a game here, and it's got to be a competition. No, actually, it's not even a competition. I just want to do this, where I mention something, and you tell me what's your favorite. These are kind of like quick quarantine picks. Cool?
Okay.
Okay. Favorite book?
Autobiography of Malcolm X.
Favorite movie?
The Matrix.
TV show?
Right now, Alone on the History Channel.
Wrong answer. It's like ABC7 News, 3 o'clock, getting answers with Kristen Z.
This was a trick. I meant ABC News. IL7 getting your answers questions.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay. Favorite music album?
Living Color Time's Up, because I'm a 90s guy. 90s baby.
Podcast?
My favorite podcast is mine. Denzel Washington is the greatest actor of all time, period.
Excellent. And restaurants?
And politically reactive, slash politically reactive.
Okay. Last one, restaurant.
Oh, that's not fair. There's so many great Bay Area restaurants.
There are.
I'm going Bake Sale Betty. It's not even really a proper restaurant, but I'm going Bake Sale Betty because I know where my bread is buttered.
For sure. No, that's the best fried chicken sandwich, right? Don't they also have like amazing pies as well?
Yeah, Bake Sale Betty is my jam, and she's a beautiful person who does a lot of good work for social justice. She was a co-conspirator before it was cool. Yeah, no, we should get some takeout and sit in a park and discuss more of these issues we just talked about over at Bake Sale Betty. Kamau Bell, so great to chat with you again. Can't wait to see the next episode. You're welcome to come back anytime, and let's do this Regis and Kelly thing again, okay? I'm down. Thank you. All right, take care. We're going to take a short break on the air, but the conversation continues on our live streams, including Facebook Live right now. All right, Kamau, you still there? Did he hang up? I'm here. Oh, you're still there. Yay. Yeah. Okay. Since we have a couple more minutes, yeah, just whatever you want to chat about. What do you want to do? I'm handing over the reins to you for the next 2 minutes. Wow. Yeah. Is this the job you thought you would have when you first got into broadcast news?
Yeah, actually. But it's actually even better because this is a half-hour interview show, as you now know, because you've been a victim a couple times now, twice, yeah. And that's really neat to me, and I guess it's probably what you like about your job when you film your episodes, where you just kind of, plop into different worlds and learn so much through just being with other people, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. This is it's a good thing to have, and there needs to be more shows like this where because people are now hungry for conversations in ways they weren't before the pandemic. So.
No, this is totally true. And I really love the last episode because, when you went to the schools in Cleveland and sat down with the kids, can I just tell you, that looks so hilarious. How old are you? Are you 6'6", something like that?
I'm 6'4", but with the afro 6'6".
Okay, yeah. So you're sitting there in a tiny desk meant for a third grader, busting out of that desk, that little school desk. It was just so funny. But it was clear that you had so much fun doing that. And I just thought that was so cool. How many episodes will you have this season?
We have 8 total, so we've got 3 coming out, so 5 more. But the last weekend is 2 in a row. It's like a back-to-back season finale closer. So.
And are you filming the next season? Are you gonna?
Yeah, we started talking about the next season already. It's weird because the season was delayed. We're talking about the next season even during the current season, which doesn't normally happen.
Right.
Oh, look, there's commercials for me right now on CNN. I have CNN over here. And
yay!
It's nice to see my face on CNN.
All right. Well, I'm going to cut you loose because I'm going to wrap up the show. Good to see you. All right, my brother. I'll see you later.
All right. See you later.
And that's going to do it. Thank you so much for joining us on today's interactive show, Getting Answers. Today, we had the fabulous Kamau Bell talking about everything from the 2020 election to everyday racism in our neighborhoods and the best ways we can reopen safely. We'll be here every day at 3 o'clock on air and on live stream answering your questions. But have a great weekend, and I'll see you right back here on Monday. Take care. Friends.